navigating what does it mean to build a company. So I was able to lean into that, try to be resourceful in getting people to help me along the way as I started building the company. Now it's over, 6+ years later. So now we, have ducks in a row a little bit more than we did in the very beginning. Career exploration is to me a phase or a mode whenever you're ready for a change or growth. All it's really saying is we need a phase of asking ourselves questions of what is it that we want and be in that space before you start applying to whatever it is. You might have somebody putting in 30 minutes a week. You might have somebody putting in an hour a month of their job search. So we do measure the pace, but everyone's different, whether, how much time are they putting in? Are they trying to pivot or just land the same role? Right. And then, are they doing the right thing?
Okay, great. Joining me today is Rachel Serwetz. She's the CEO of Woken and a career exploration coach, guiding you to confidently identify your best fit career path, right?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. There's lots I could say. Let's see. I mean, in terms of how we got it started, over the years, I had been informally coaching people and I saw a lot of patterns and challenges that they were having with their job search, and they often didn't know what job they wanted. So started coming up with different ways of helping people and eventually got coaching training and certified and started building out different tools to facilitate the thought process and the exploration process. And over the years, we advanced some of those tools and frameworks. And I actually took several years myself, in my early portion of my career to figure out my own journey. So based on my personal learnings and what I was hearing from others and the training around coaching, we started to build out tools that would help people be as efficient and effective as possible to clarify what role was the best fit, what industry is the best fit, what work environment is the best fit. And yeah, just help people get to that point of feeling actually certain. I think these days we look around and it feels like the norm to not be fully sure where it is you want to go professionally. And that's usually the example that we see in people around us. And statistically, the majority of folks are disengaged at work. So, we want to look at, all right, well, who has figured it out and how have they done that? And how can I efficiently figure out my own, direction, right? So we try to make that really practical. And that way you actually feel confident in where you're going next.
Nice. Awesome. So what was it like when you first started putting your practice together and building out your program and all? What's that been like?
Yeah. I mean, the very beginning was tough, because it's scary to start your own thing. I mean, that's the real honest answer, right? Um, but I tried to lean into, the irony here is I felt like I knew what I was meant to do. And so even though it was hard and scary, I was like, well, I do feel certain this is what I want to be doing. So I leaned into that. And it helps a lot when you feel good of what you want to do, because it just helps you focus on that challenge of implementation and execution and figuring out, navigating what does it mean to build a company. So I was able to lean into that, try to be resourceful in getting people to help me along the way as I started building the company. Now it's over, 6+ years later. So now we, have ducks in a row a little bit more than we did in the very beginning. But, with any startup or any new business, I always say with enough time and the patience, the persistence, and the creativity, you will eventually figure out, how to start or offer a product or service, right? Or at least those ingredients help a lot. So, with enough time, we experimented a lot, we built things out. But yeah, over the years, we have helped people to really get a lot of career clarity. We've helped people make pivots, land new jobs, and we've figured out a few things and really learned what helps people the most and what efforts help really make a difference in their, when they're transitioning to the next job.
That's awesome. That's great. So you said you have a few other coaches on your team now?
We have two other coaches. Yep. So, growing to and actually chatting with a third. So, yeah, expanding beyond myself is the goal, right? So, as many clients as we can help, we want to have coaches to do so. And of course, there's a lot of individuals and professionals who deserve and want support. So, yeah, our goal is to just grow as much as we can. And there's a ton of coaches out there that we'd love to bring on board. And it's a combination of, we look for coaches that have sufficient training and experience, but we also show them a little bit of our special sauce and what we do. And we do have a unique software that helps people navigate through the career exploration journey. So we teach them a little bit about our own ways of doing things, and of course, bring in their own knowledge and expertise as well.
Oh, that sounds neat. So if someone just kind of knows their interest, but they don't really know exactly where they should go, you can help them kind of formulate an idea.
Yes, more than an idea, it would be a plan, right? So we do, yeah, basically to get somebody to that point of clarity, right? So we do start out with a career assessment. It's very deeply self reflective to try to understand who you are and what you're all about. And then we help somebody to identify a few target roles and a few target industries. These are just relevant, viable options to start with, but often in the journey, you may identify new options, and that short list will change. So after we have the options, then we do a little bit of online research. But after that, we teach somebody how to network. So we teach them how to identify the right people, how to reach out to them, and how to host effective informational chats with people who are in the roles and in the industries that they're considering pursuing. And that way they can really learn deeply, what are those paths really like. And they sort of go through these like pivot journeys where you're learning, you're synthesizing, you're reflecting, and then you're saying, all right, what do I need to do next? What do I want to learn more about? What doesn't sound like a fit? And how do I keep iterating until I get to that point of saying, okay, this role, this industry, and this environment feels, I can be confident that that's the right fit for me.
Okay, right, cool. Um, well, that's for people maybe who are changing careers, but would career exploration coaching also cover someone who had just been in the same career for a long time and was feeling stuck maybe, and but wanted to advance somehow? And
Yeah, that is a great question. So I always say that career exploration is, to me, a phase or a mode whenever you're ready for a change or growth. All it's really saying is we need a phase of asking ourselves questions of what is it that we want, and be in that space before you start applying to whatever it is. Even if it's an internal role or navigating a promotion conversation, you want to know what it is you're going after first and foremost, and that's going to help you best get there wherever it is you're going. The other way I like to think about it is, if you're mid-career, whenever you're ready for a change, I always think about role, industry, and environment, right? So if you're ever trying to reflect on how did my last few roles go, or what is it I want next, that three-part framework is a really good way of diagnosing what is it you need, what is it you want, what's working, what's not. Sometimes mid-career, you might just want to optimize to get a new industry experience, or maybe you want a slight adjustment to the role, or maybe it's a different company environment. So when you use that three-part framework, it helps you to figure out, what do I need, where do I want to go, and then of course, what does that mean, right? Anybody who's seeking some level of a change, that framework can help a lot. And then you can strategize, because maybe internally at your company there's another team or another project you can get involved with. It doesn't have to be a job search, but again, knowing what you want to get involved with is step number one. And then, promotion is a bit of a different way of going about that, because that's a bit more upward growth maybe in your own team per se, right? And so that's, how we handle that conversation might be a little different. Um, but the idea of exploring, reflecting, getting that clarity, no matter what change you're trying to seek, you want to know, like, where am I at, and that's going to help you so much to execute on it.
Yeah, yeah, good, nice. I like that. Um, so, are there ever people that you feel like you should push more, that they're almost selling themselves short with the opportunity that they're going after, and you feel like it would be healthy to encourage them? Do you run into that very often, or what do you do in those cases?
Yeah, I think there's a fair number of people that lack, confidence. Um, so, I am definitely a direct person. I can be, motivational. And I think the key for me is giving perspective, right? You want to look for roles that are commensurate with your experience. And so, how do you see yourself objectively in terms of your skill set and your value and your expertise? And where does that fit, in terms of another job or another company or in the job market? And where can you go next? So sometimes just trying to figure out what aligns and what is fitting for you and what makes sense. Sometimes that's just unclear. And so sometimes the networking and the exploration process may be all that you need. Sometimes that exploration process imbues the confidence, because when you're figuring out what is a strong fit, you're naturally going through the process of understanding yourself and understanding what's out there and really trying to get objective about what makes sense, right? So you're almost removing yourself, and like, imagine you're looking at yourself and you're looking at those roles and you're comparing the two, and imagine you're sort of the third person in the journey. So we do try to encourage action steps where somebody can get more confident. And sometimes it's learning more about what's out there or learning more about yourself. Other times it may just be the mindset. And you might need to get to know, where is that feeling coming from? Some people had one bad experience in their life. It could have been at work, it could have been a personal experience. And it may influence how you see yourself. It may influence how you show up. It may influence so many things. I've had people talk about family influences, or maybe you had one job or one boss that said something. You never know. So understanding what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, where did that arise from? And then we could sort of decouple that and say, does that, should that carry you through with future situations? And should that influence where you're at now? Or how do we heal? How do we accept and process what has happened? And there's always learning lessons, but yeah, if it's a subconscious thing that's influencing perhaps your actions and your decisions and your potential, right, that's a big deal. So just understanding your own mindset is kind of the first step.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's really neat that you do a lot more of the inner work. It sounds like, than just simple career advisement. To get on that level of what's blocking the person, or what do they want, where do they want to be, ideally. That's great.
Yeah, it depends. Some people are fine with the mindset. So I always say there's mindset, there's accountability, and there's practical strategy. That's sort of that pyramid. And it just depends. If somebody's really stable with their mindset and their accountability, we'll deal with all the practical strategies, right? But if somebody's good with their mindset, but they're struggling with accountability, that's that core middle tier where it's like, well, we've got to put in the time, and then we got to know how to do those steps effectively and strategically, right? So each of those three rungs on the tower are so critical, but the mindset, it's the foundation. So sometimes we live in that space, sometimes we live in the accountability space, sometimes we live in the practical strategy space, and oftentimes it's all three. But it just depends on the person and where they're at, and meeting them where they're at, and what do they need at that moment.
Right, right, sure. So what's the average duration, for an engagement?
So our subscriptions are actually month to month. It's extremely flexible, actually, because some people don't want a lot of support or don't need a lot of support. So I don't like to lock anyone into anything that doesn't make sense for them. Our average retention is just over between 6 and 6.5 months. That doesn't mean that that's how long a job search takes. Career exploration on average takes 2 to 3 months, but it depends on your pace. So, it just depends. We have people where once they land a job, they'll continue and we'll support them to onboard to that job really well, right? So everybody's sort of at coaching for a different reason. We've coached people for years, right? Because you're going to have goals, you're going to have phases, you're going to have chapters, you're going to change jobs, then you're going to excel at that job, and then you'll be ready for the next thing. So having a co-pilot with you through all the journeys is what we aim to do, but it's really, really flexible. However you need support, right? We do weekly, bi-weekly, once a month. Again, that cadence totally depends on the person and what level of support, guidance, accountability they want. So we try to make it super, super flexible. Everyone's different, and needs something different.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to do it. I like that. So how do you do like mode of contact? Do you just with clients and all? Do you have kind of like an intake questionnaire, or how do you keep in touch and all?
Yeah, so we have a lot of methods actually to stay in touch, and everyone prefers a different format. But our coaching calls are on Zoom, or they could be on the phone if somebody prefers. We do have a software platform, so that's a great workspace where someone can sort of take those activities and take the next steps in between the coaching calls, and I can actually see all their work and give them feedback and sort of liaise with them in between the sessions. We also offer texting and emailing, and we also have group coaching and group co-working. I'm also a big fan of Google Docs and Google Sheets. So however somebody wants to stay in touch, I'm a very visual person. So I like to make sure that whatever it is somebody's working on, it's clear to them when, where, why, how, and what to do. So, any sort of way of staying in touch, everyone's a little different, whether they like to email or text or whatever it may be. But we offer pretty much 24/7 support because the coaching sessions are so important. But I find that in between, when you're sitting down to do the work, that's really where, the questions arise or the blockers arise, so we're here in real time, to support you as much as we can.
Awesome. And so would that include full career, like if people wanted cover letter or resume, or you do that stuff too, I
Yes,
guess, huh?
we do it all.
Mm,
So
great.
on average, we might start out with like career exploration, then we help somebody with upskilling decisions, then we help with all of the personal branding materials, job searching, networking, interviewing, all the way to land your role, and then even succeeding once you start the job. So we do all of those things. Sometimes somebody comes to us and says, we just want, materials, or I just need help with job search, or I just need help with networking. So it's flexible. You can, we'll start wherever you need to start in the journey. But the average person is probably going through all of those phases. But it totally depends. The beginning is really where we come up with a strategy for you based on like, what's your timeline, what's your goals, and then what makes sense. And we'll sort of make sure that the game plan, is step one. But yeah, we pretty much do everything career wise that you could think of, because it all is so intertwined that it would be hard for me to be like, no, we don't do that, right? You never know. You may have a job and then you want to work on your resume, or, all of it goes hands in hand. So we do actually cover almost anything you could think of, career goals, career challenges. It's pretty holistic.
Right. So do you have like I mean, some recruiters point to like a placement rate of people getting jobs. I mean, how do you justify your ROI? Coaches are always challenged with that, I think, to justify.
Yeah, and we do, measure things like that, but the pace of job search really varies based on, you might have somebody putting in 30 minutes a week. You might have somebody putting in an hour a month of their job search. So we do measure the pace, but everyone's different, whether, how much time are they putting in? Are they trying to pivot or just land the same role? Right. And then, are they doing the right things? Because, say we were to chat once a month, it may not mean that we're in touch enough to actually make sure you're doing the right things. Chatting weekly or biweekly and being in touch is a really important way to make sure, are we measuring and pivoting and giving you that feedback and, improving how you're going about the job search. I should probably dig up the actual latest average of how our clients land, but in the range of 3 to 4 months is usually kind of an average job search. But again, it totally depends. We've helped people make 180 pivots. That's a tiny bit more involved process because you're going to do probably some significant upskilling, whether it's a certification or boot camp or something like that. So it just depends, if somebody says, look, I only have this much time, I need to land a job, we'll give you the suggestions for how much time to spend and how to meet that goal the best that you can, and give you that perspective. So yeah.
It's good to know the averages, I guess, so that way you're not driving yourself crazy and trying to kill yourself.
Yeah, it's tough out there. There's a lot of candidates, right? We saw lots of layoffs. And so having perspective, I think, is so big on what's average. And then suggested, what do we suggest that you do every week in terms of your time and your volume, right? And just knowing, like, look, if I do this one thing a week, or if I do 5 things a week, whatever it is, however much time and volume you're putting in, it's going to make a difference. So having a coach there to help you, because you're right, sometimes we have arbitrary goals and you don't want to put undue pressure. It's good to have motivation, but if you're like, I want to land a job in 2 weeks, is that possible? You know what I mean? Like, understanding what to expect and how to go as fast as you can, but also be reasonable. You don't need to burn out over job search. You do want to have some balance because you need energy to show up in this process.
Are there other? Was there anything else you wanted to bring up about if regarding prospective clients, or if I were looking at your service? Is there anything else you wanted to mention?
I think you got a lot of the key info, which is great. We aim to be as affordable and accessible and holistic as humanly possible. I would say, people do come to us after trying other career exploration tools. So, we have found a proven method that seems to add value to folks. And yeah, we'll meet someone wherever they are, and whatever it is, you want to work on is our priority. So, and we always offer a free initial chat. So if you're not sure, you want to meet, get to know us, book that call, and, we can at least meet one-on-one and see how we can.
Nice. Awesome. So that would be off your website, would be the best place?
Yes. So iamwoken.com. And then the link will be there. We always offer free 20-minute chats so that we can, meet you and see how we can help. But yeah, if you go to our website, you will see the link to our calendar. Wonderful.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today, Rachel.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope we can catch up again sometime soon.
Sounds good.